very cold Berkeley, California. I hope it's warmer where folks are. I got my RoboCon hat on. It's so chilly. Anyway, we're going to talk about Jayquill, one of my favorite topics, JQL, Jira Query Language. So, as folks trickle on in, take some time to think about questions you have around JQL, and we'll get started in about 3 or 4 minutes. Arizona. Elliot, I hope Arizona is warmer than where I am right now. Usually I don't have to complain about that, but Pennsylvania. Diana, welcome back. Good to see you again. I can't give you sympathy for cold. Dana, fair. And Elliot's got rain and cold. Okay. I guess it's chilly for everybody. I'll stop my griping. That is totally fair. Yeah, I grew up back east where we got actual snow. We got hail here a couple days ago, which is very odd. It's the kind of thing where everyone stops and runs outside just to go see the hail. Go figure. All right, folks, we're going to start in about 30 seconds with our JQL. I had some friends who I went to Tahoe, which is a ski area near us, and they woke up to 4 feet of snow the other day. Which I'm glad I don't have to shovel anymore, I'll be honest. All right, folks. Here we go. All right, folks, good morning. My name is Rob. I've been working at Atlassian, the Atlassian ecosystem for 13 years, since like 2013. Excuse my hair as I take off my hat. And I've been using Jira for about as long. I haven't been using JQL or Jira Query Language for that length of time. And that's only because it's a little bit more of an advanced topic. It's not something I had to use. Once I started owning a Jira Service Management space or project, then I really got neck deep into JQL. I kind of skipped the stage where we learned the basic search, and I learned that later. I jumped into JQL because I had just learned SQL, and I figured, hey, it's similar enough. It's not. It has some concepts that apply to it and some ideas, so if you know other query languages, that can help you with concepts, but how it's expressed can differ enough that other knowledge may not be as helpful as you think. Svetlin, welcome. So, I also pronounce it Jayquill. So just a heads up, if you hear me use that term, I'm talking about JQL. I'm trying to make this a thing. Help me out. Interaction, please use the chat. Many of you found it already. I'm just sharing where you're from, but also use the chat to share knowledge. If you can help answer someone's question, like I see Christopher's got one about custom fields not being sortable, jump on in and help them out. Also, ask your questions in there so other people can see them, and any other just interaction you've got. I also do these streams professionally. It's my job. My job now is independent business, and I go help train people on how to use these platforms. So I'll give you different ways you can help support me. Easiest one is to like and subscribe to the video, so hit the thumbs up button at the bottom. I also have other courses around searching in Jira, so you can sign up right below my head to get more information and regular updates on those courses. All right, our agenda. I cannot make you JQL experts in 1 hour. However, I can give you the basics. So we're going to cover things like general concepts around how Jira stores work items. This is important because understanding in general how a system manages data will help you understand how search works and help you more effectively use it. We'll talk about statements, clauses, and FOV. And actually, maybe I'll just put a question in the chat. Just curious if folks know what FOV is. And I'll be going back and forth between slides for those concepts and then hands-on in Jira Cloud Premium. Everything I show you in JQL today, or Jayquill, works in every version of Jira, including Data Center. There might be one minor exception. So the concepts of JQL have not changed very much over time. They've added and extended things like functions, which we won't dig into too much here. We've got another session next week on those. But in terms of structuring and building a search or a query, it's been the same for as long as I've been using Atlassian products, so a decade or longer. And just another kind of open question for the group. No, Christopher, that is not what that means. wrong letter in the middle there. What are some frustrations you have around finding stuff in Jira? I'm just curious in general. Like, I know some of mine, I just couldn't find stuff, and that's why I learned Jayquill. Part of my job, I was expected to know where work items were or to find things for my team, and I couldn't do that. So I went and learned JQL to help me do that. But I'm curious your frustration, so hopefully I can talk to them here or at least provide more info. So again, thinking at a conceptual level, we've got work items that exist in Jira. These used to be called issues. They just represent something you need to do. The important thing for our search, though, is they have fields all over them. When we search in Jira, we're searching on fields. So like we're not searching against a space in this case. We're looking at any one of the fields that shows up on a work item. Every work item is going to have a key and a summary. Everything else pretty much is optional. I think they'll also have a status and a reporter, even if the reporter is anonymous. But part of learning and knowing JQL is knowing the fields that are available, how they behave, why some are sortable and why some are not. So we can then go in and use JQL to find work items. So usually before I begin searching, especially if I'm in a new instance, say I've just joined a company or I'm helping someone out, I go and explore some work items just so I can understand what's in here. I want to make sure I know what fields are in use. For example, if I don't see anyone using labels anywhere, I know, I probably shouldn't include that in my searching. It's not something that this group happens to use. I'll also do things like just look at statuses. So I might view workflows on a ticket. The camera's lagging? Oh, man. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Excuse me while I try and fix my setup. Thank you for letting me know, by the way, Svetlana. And folks, if something's weird about what you're seeing, please tell me. Okay, I shrank. I don't know if that helped. Different spaces so you can effectively find things. We spoke about this in our first session just on how does search work, but it's a good reminder. It's freezing and jumping around. Elliot, I'll see if I can fix that as we go, but hopefully, is it? It looks fine on my end, unfortunately. I'll keep trying to hold still so it doesn't affect you too much. Jira is essentially a big spreadsheet. This is a vast oversimplification, but when I search, I always think about just putting a filter on a column of a spreadsheet. In this example, if I want to find low priority items, fantastic stills. All right, thank you, Deanna. I'm going to just not touch anything else. Thank you, folks. This might surprise you, but I don't know how to dance. If I want to find all the low priority items in this particular spreadsheet, I would filter on the priority column and just show low. When we do JQL, it's exactly the same thing. Christina, Kaithro, welcome. Everyone else, thank you for letting me know it looks better now. I appreciate that. So just keep in mind, we're really just looking at a gigantic, really complicated spreadsheet. So when we type in JQL statements, all we're doing is changing how it's being filtered. This helped me quite a bit with search, because it simplified it for me. A big challenge many folks I talk to have with JQL is it looks complex and big and sophisticated, and it can be, but the concept behind it is just as simple as clicking on priority and selecting low. All right, another poll. I'm just curious if folks use JQL. And just how frequently. I was using this daily when I had my full-time job. I still use it very frequently. Any moving could be classified as dancing. Thank you, Christopher. That's why I said I didn't dance well. The more, especially a skill like JQL, the more we use it, the better we're going to get at it. I have learned and forgotten SQL, structured query language, multiple times. And that's because a job I had required it for a little bit, but I didn't practice it. I didn't keep using it. So one of the key takeaways from this is if you really want to get good at Jayquill, use it daily. Even if it's just for 1 minute to look for one thing, the more exposure you get to it and the more you use it, the easier it will be. And I saw someone do a heart or something. Thank you for those. There are like emoji reactions. Deanna, yes, I'm glad you're here. And thank you for raising your hand and saying you're afraid of it. It does look complex, right? Especially for used to the basic search, just clicking the filters. I'm going to break it down for you, though, and hopefully make it less intimidating. And remember, it's like a snake, right? JQL is more afraid of you than you are of it. All right. Svetlin, yes. If we'll cover this when we go live. I don't have slides for this, but Rovo is a great way. Rovo and Atlassian Intelligence, I'll just use Rovo to describe all the AI in here. It's a great way to learn it. Sure, that counts. I should have put that as a quiz, as a poll response. But Rovo is another great way to demystify a statement, this thing here. And that's because Rovo can take your natural language and translate it into the statement itself. Now, we find JQL by going to our filters and clicking on JQL. And really what we're working on is this bit in the middle where it says statement. That is the thing that people look at and go, I'm not going to touch this. This looks like code. It looks scary. Again, if you have experience in other query languages, SQL is probably the most popular one or one that I think of the most. That can help you, but there's major differences. Basically, what we're looking at here is a where clause if you know SQL. We don't need a join. We don't need a from. We don't need a select. It's just the where. So it's looking for conditions that need to be true. So we're going to jump in and just start tinkering with some JQL. And I need to fix my screen again. Apologies, because I broke it trying to fix my video. All right, here we are in Jira. This is my sandbox. And this is JQL. I challenge folks, tell me what this is doing. So I'll zoom out a bit again. I just went to filters, search all work items, and then JQL. And whoopsies, that was fun. And then I typed this in and I got some list of tickets, some results down at the bottom. Now, like I mentioned earlier, my ability to do this is really dependent on my knowledge of the space that I'm looking in. So before I wrote this down, I went in and I looked at some work items and asked myself, ooh, what can I find? What can I use in here? That then helped me craft this query. The more you do this, the easier this is going to get. Again, I default to JQL just because I'm so familiar with it, but that's just because I've been practicing it for a long time. I don't even know how long. But I'm going to put this into chat and just see if anyone can decode it. JQL can be very simple. It can just be one thing. And even if you come to the filter and go to JQL at the start, oh, it's not going to do it. Hang on. See if I can force it. I've never actually done that before. I think I broke it. Let me come back real quick. There we go. There is a default query that will show up when you first open this. So this is a statement. It's saying, give me everything created in less than or equal to 30 days ago. So give me everything made in the last 30 days. And then it's got this little bit at the end, order by, automatically sort it for me. I mentioned Rovo can help us out. And this to me is like one of the single best uses of Rovo. I'll quickly touch on this before we go back to our theory. But here I can just type in English. I'm going to see if ESSG's statement here, see all work items of the status not done, either assigned to Rob or critical. I'm kind of curious what this will do here. You're not going to let me run it? Oh no. Why can't I do that? Oh, there we go. Not too bad. So this is Rovo taking what I wrote in natural language, in my case English, and translating into the JQL. This is an excellent way to learn JQL because it's going to show you its work. It's going to show you, based on whatever you type in, what that is. Now, like with any AI, always double check it. You'll notice this isn't exactly what I had done, which is fine. This is giving me inspiration, it's showing me how to use it, and it's helping expand my knowledge. So Deanna, if you've got Rovo, this is a great way to tinker with it. I will also shout out an upcoming session I'm doing on a new feature in Rovo, but it includes access to a sandbox where you can use Rovo. So I need to go find this link. It's in March, and I'll drop it in the chat if folks want to join. It'll be a more interactive session. And again, it does, if you sign up before, I want to say March 13th, you can get access to a free Rovo sandbox to play with features exactly like this. But we can use Rovo to speed up our ability to learn. Other folks were saying, find work items for Rob that are not done to the priority critical. Ticket that's assigned to Rob, priority critical and not done. Ooh, I kind of tricked y'all. This one, I'll keep using this as an example. But, oh, Dana, I'm sorry. Check out that link above, or reach out to me in something like Discord. I can get you more information on it. Or reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to hook you up. But if folks want to use Rovo and learn about its features, that session that I linked, a couple above right here, will be hands-on in Rovo. You'll get a Rovo demo instance to go play with it. So if you don't have access to Rovo directly, that's one way you can practice. But this is really complex, and this is really intimidating. So we're going to go back to our theory and start to pull this apart and understand what this longer query is doing. Here's a question for the group, though. How is Jayquill like Santa? You know, the guy who shows up over the holidays and leaves presents for some people and coal for other people. How is Jayquill like Santa? And I'll take a quick sip of coffee while you all consider that. And also remind folks to please like and subscribe. Easiest way you can support me is just mash those buttons. The other thing I'll drop a link for, I do have a course on JQL and mastering Jira Search, 3 hours of dedicated content. That just went live. They both have clauses. Get it, Santa Claus. Oh, such a good joke. I had to leave that in there, folks. All right, so that big statement that we're looking at, assigning equals Robert Hean or priority equals critical, close parenthesis, and status category equals not done, that is a statement. A statement is a complete, valid JQL query. So the whole thing is just called a statement. Statements contain at least one clause. Oh, Kythra. Sick burn. That's a good one, too. You don't always get what you ask for, but you always get what you need. Let's write that one down, my friend. Shout out to Kythra, a friend of the channel. She's also a channel member. So I have 3 levels of membership. They all get you increasing levels of stuff. But really appreciate that you're here, my friend. Keeping me honest and helping me expand my joke book, which is always appreciated. So the whole thing is just called a statement. Usually I don't use this phrase a lot. Like I'm not talking to a friend going, yeah, what's your statement? But you'll see this in terminology, you'll see this in documentation. More frequently, we talk about the clause. A clause is one complete part of a JQL query. So project equals JQL is a clause. This can also be a statement. So again, the whole thing is a statement. It has one or more clauses in it. In this case, this is both a complete statement and a clause. That's good too. They both iterate over lists. I got to start writing these down. All right. Now, every clause must have three things: a field, an operator, and a value. If we go back to my longer example, where did my giant thing go? This is a complex statement. It has more than one clause. Assignee equals Robert Hean is one clause. Priority equals critical is another clause. Status category does not equal done, another clause. Each one of those clauses has a field, an operator, and a value. Assignee is a field. Equals is an operator. Robert Hean is a value. In the example on the screen, project is my field, equals is my operator, and JQL JSM is my value. Every clause has to have these three things and only these three things. So if a clause is missing one of these, it does not work. Whereas a statement needs at least one complete clause. This concept is just kind of ingrained. It's habitual for me now. I don't even think about it. I just know the field. I know what operators tend to work with them and the value. Now, fields can be any field on a work item. And this is why we need to go and understand what work items exist in Jira so we know what fields to use. Now, you need to know the exact name. However, Jira has autocomplete, so as you start typing, it's going to start restricting what it shows you based on valid values. And I can see in our poll, most of us use it, but most of it use it not much. I would challenge those folks to start using it a little bit more. And for the folks who are straight up nope, which is 20% of us, start tinkering with it. It's a very powerful tool that does more than we can do in just a general filtering. Now this tells Jira where to look. So it's saying go into the reporter field. Now custom fields do exist, and this is where our lives can become a lot more interesting. You'll know it's a custom field if it has CF and some number starting at 10,000. So reporter assets is a custom field. Reporter is not. Now, in some instances of Jira, you're going to have multiple fields that look like they have the same name, some of which will be custom, some of which will not be. Using the custom field, CF 10143, will always refer to the custom field. Beth, I like this continued riff off the Santa joke. We need a joke. We need a joke book. Maybe I'll publish that over in a Discord or on LinkedIn or something. So keep in mind, as you're using fields, you might end up with two that look very similar. And this is where, again, my knowledge of Jira is helpful. If I can't tell reporter property versus reporter assets from here. All I see is the name of the field. So I will sometimes just pick one. Let's try reporter property and see what we get. Or I'll go find a work item and look at it. The operator compares the value of the field to the value. So in the prior case, equals was my operator. It's saying, where does the reporter equal Robert Hean? Now you can see here that autocomplete I was talking about. So this field, reporter, allows any one of these operators. You don't have to memorize what they are. As you're typing, you'll start to understand and see patterns though. Field pickers look like, or user pickers look like this. Dates have more. You don't see something like greater than or less than in here because reporter can't be greater than or less than something else, right? Now they compare the value of the field to whatever you're looking for, and it only returns true scenarios. So where it's true that reporter equals Rob, give me those. Where it's true that reporter does not equal Rob, give me those. The in and not in operators are important. They allow us to do multiple values. For example, if I'm looking for the reporter equals Rob, I would use equals. But if I need reporter equals Rob or the reporter equals Kythra, I couldn't use equals because that's a single value. I would use in. Reporter in Rob, comma, Kythra. Again, these are all things, and I will force some errors as we go, where you're going to start learning by experience. I'm going to drop a quick poll and just see what people think. And when you read the question, you'll hopefully understand it's not a very serious one, but which is the best operator? Spoiler, there is no best. But what do you think? What's the best operator? The value is what you're looking for. So again, in reporter, I was looking for me, so tickets where I am the reporter. Reporter equals Robert Hean. Now, the values you get in the autocomplete will be dependent on the field you're looking in. Again, reporter is what's called a user picker field, so all the users will show up. There are some interesting things you're seeing in here, though. This little guy. This thing is called a function. So anywhere you see parentheses after the name of a value, that is a function. We'll talk a lot more about functions in our next session, but basically these take the place of a value and they're dynamic. So current user, if I put that in, it will say whoever is logged in when you run the query. So if I run reporter equals current user, I will see my tickets. If Kythra runs it, she will see hers. If Svetlin runs it, he will see his. All right, folks, I need your help. Again, I do this professionally, and I constantly struggle with how can I make these sessions better for all of you and everyone else watching. I'm going to drop a quick Google Sheet, or Google Form, excuse me, into the chat. And this is just feedback on the session, how I'm doing, what I can do better. It can be anonymous. You can choose to share your email to get updates or not, entirely up to you. But this is what I look at among several other things to figure out how do I become more useful, give you better knowledge. Examples of what I've done here in my certification training, I now provide a free companion course that includes quizzes and labs. I will also be recording sessions that I do live, not live, and sharing versions of those because people said, hey, Rob, stay focused. We don't want all the back and forth. So I'll be putting recorded versions of these sessions out as well. But any other feedback you have, how I can improve, you want more cats in the background, I don't know what, please let me know so I can make those changes. All right, into Jira for more JQL fun, Jayquill. Let's get rid of this. All right. So we had our big, long query. I got to go find the original one now because it's been lost to... Here we go. We are just going to take this apart now. So this is a statement. This whole thing is just a JQL statement. It is comprised, as I'm looking at it, it's comprised of 3 separate clauses. Assignee equals Robert Hean. Priority equals critical, status category is not equal to done. I'm going to do each of these separately. So I'm going to do just the last one. I'm going to run a search. And I do this a lot when someone comes to me for help. Hey, Rob, what's going on to this query? Hey, what is it doing? I'll run each individual piece just to see what it does. Sklark, I hope I'm saying your name properly, my friend. Good to see you again, by the way. I recognize the little baby doing the fist bump thing. Can we use JQL to create reports? In Jira, we have filters, which is the term for a search. We can save that filter and then use that to feed a dashboard. So dashboards will visualize this in different charts and different gadgets. And that gives us a snapshot, a point in time of how things are going. Scott Clark, that makes more sense. What happened to the first 753 Scott Clarks? Do I want to know? Yeah, I had, oh geez. Now I'm thinking back to my AOL days and all the screen names with the numbers. But I could save this, status category does not equal done, and then feed this into a dashboard. So maybe I'll cover dashboards in another session. Thank you for the idea. I'll add that to the end of our search series. Ooh, the Jira guys in the house. Rodney, it's good to see you, my friend. I hope you're well. The best operator is changed by. this is the Jira guy. He's an amazing person and knows a lot more about Jira than I do. So I'm always thrilled when he comes in to join us and heckle me. Scott, that is wise, my friend. But I do want answers. All right. Now, status category isn't a field. It's a special field that I really like. I always share this. If you look at the status column, you'll see it's different colors. It's gray. It's blue. I'm looking for some green ones. There won't be any green ones. But that's just the category it's in. So I'm going to pull this statement apart, this clause. I've got my field, status category, and then I get these operators. So the exclamation point equals is read out as does not equal. And here I get three options. A to-do status category is one of the gray ones, waiting for approval, pending, open. In progress are the blue ones, waiting for support, in progress, and done are the green ones. It's a shorthand way of finding work that is either done, being worked on, or not started yet. So I had does not equal done. This is basically saying give me all the work items that are still open. And it means I don't have to memorize a list of every status. So that was the first clause. And again, it's a complete clause because it gives me something. It gives me results. If I make a mistake, say I use an operator that doesn't work, Jira is going to yell at me. And it's even going to suggest a fix. Now, this uses AI, so if AI is flipped off in your instance, you may not have access to this. But if I make a whoopsie like that, I can very easily fix it. So Jira will give you that feedback right away. What was it? Status category. So this is our complete statement again. And that was just this last clause. So now I'm going to go to priority equals critical. And these are just, again, examples. But this would find me every work item that has the priority field set to critical. Now, it's not excluding anything else. So typically, a single clause statement is not the most useful thing in the world. It depends on what you're trying to find. I will usually do this, honestly, if I'm in a rush or if I'm just lazy. Because here I can see all the priority critical, and I'm really looking for this one. So I do like this mental shorthand where if I know it'll show up in this list, I'll just do a single clause statement because it's faster. It's easier to type just this than to type in the whole big thing to find just the one work item I want. So that was priority equals critical, and then we had, whoopsies, come back, assignee equals Robert Hean. So again, any work item where Robert Hean is the assignee. As I get more complex though, I need ways of combining these. So in this statement, which I called a complex statement, you can see I'm doing like parentheses, parenthesis, singular, parenthesis. I've got this word and in the middle. I've got this word or. So there's ways we can take multiple clauses and stick them together to do something more complicated. If I run this, I'll have a different list of work items. It is not necessarily a smaller list of work items than if I do a single clause. And the reason is because I can add things to this list. All right, I'm going to take it down to just nothing and just show you the autocomplete because this is a very useful feature. There are some fields you're going to use a lot. Reporter, priority, created. There's a whole bunch of other fields that happen to exist that you will not use very much. And it doesn't even show me the whole list. But even here I can see, come back list. Associated laptops is a custom field, and the custom field number starts at 10,000. So this is the 109th custom field in the instance. But this just tells me these were made by the admins. These ones came with the system. And if you're unfamiliar with them, some of them include a little bit more. A group picker, an approvals field. But I can pick on these or just start typing them. And Jira will narrow down the list of possible fields that meet that criteria. And here I have all of the possible operators for this particular field. All right. I'm going to put, okay, this will be a trick question. wonder if I'm going to get in trouble for this. Maybe. We'll find out. And by trouble, I mean someone, Rodney, is going to yell at me. Which one of these 4 options is not a Jayquill keyword? Which is not a Jayquill keyword? And I'll get some coffee while you all consider this question. So 3 of these are, in fact, a JQL keyword. One of them is not. One of them is an imposter. All right. First, I got to explain what keywords are. Keywords are, they're called a reserved word or phrase. They can't be things like the name. They can't be the name of a field. Like you can't name a field and they do specific things in JQL. So they can join together multiple clauses to make a more complex query. Rodney, I figured you would. Rodney, why is that a dirty question? I told you it was a trick question, folks. Now, the keywords allow us to make complex statements. So again, a statement is just a single functioning clause. Reporter equals Robert Hean. But if I want to further restrict that, maybe I only want tickets where Robert Hean is a reporter and it's in a certain project, I need a keyword. Keywords allow us to join multiple clauses in different ways, but they can also do things like alter the logic. So the keyword not will flip true to false or false to true. So not reporter equals Robert Hean is the same as saying reporter does not equal Robert Hean, or it's very similar to. It allows us to alter logical operations, but they are explicitly defined within the query, and they perform a very specific thing. There are a number of different keywords. There are 2 that I use very, very frequently. And I see I got only one person nailed the answer here. So here's a list of keywords. In is an operator. So that was a trick question. Not is a keyword. So as Rodney said, that was a little bit dirty and underhanded. But I came up with that one on the fly. The 2 that I use the most are and or, followed by order by. And will restrict or restrict the number of results because multiple things have to be true. For example, if I say reporter equals Robert Hean and the priority is high, that's going to be a smaller list of tickets than just reporter equals Robert Hean. It throws away all the ones where the priority is not high. Or does the opposite, or expands what we get because multiple things could be true. Reporter equals Robert Hean or priority equals high will get me every ticket where Rob is the reporter and every ticket where the priority is high. That list will be much bigger than just one or the other. Or logic is one of the most frustrating things for people around Jayquill because or behaves unexpectedly. You'll end up with a list of tickets much, much bigger than you expect. I'll show you some tricks for handling that as we go, and you saw one in that longer example I did with the parenthesis. Singular parenthesis. Other keywords include not. This reverses logic. Again, not reporter equals Robert Hean. I personally don't use this one all that much. I just don't have a complex enough use case. You can reverse, I believe, an entire clause as well. Empty looks for an empty field. As far as I understand it, and Rodney, keep me honest, it's the same as null. The term null just means there's no value. So reporter equals empty would find any work item without a reporter. Order by is a special clause as well. It always goes at the end, and it allows you to sort columns in your results. So if I say reporter equals Robert Hean, order by priority descending, that would give me the highest priority at the top, where Robert Hean is the reporter. Keywords, we don't have to memorize, but it's good to know just what they do in general. And uses not in. Yeah, so that's a combination of, I think it shows up in the operator list, but it's a combination of a keyword and an operator. So reporter not in Rob, comma, Ann would give me every work item where the reporter is not Rob or Ann. So this is that long query I had earlier. In parenthesis, one of these is plural. I always forget which one. Quick random poll. Parenthesis. I think this is the plural. I forget. But parenthesis can be used to force Jira to evaluate clauses in a certain order. In this example, the parenthesis is first saying, make a list of every work item where Rob is the assignee, and combine that with a list of every work item where the priority is critical. Take that list and then only give me work items that don't have a status category of done. If I don't have this parenthesis, Jira will do the and statement first. So it's first going to get a list of work items where priority is critical and they're not done. And then it will combine it with a list of assignee equals Robert Hean. So if I don't have parenthesis, Jira does the and statements first to build its lists and then ors. And that's what can result in unexpected results. It's very frustrating. Kyther's saying there is no I in team, but there is a me, and there is no I in plural parenthesis. All right, I didn't know this up until a few weeks ago. They are different words, apparently, and words mean things, so I'm trying to be better. This is a little bit more of an advanced concept like applying parenthesis, because you can get much more sophisticated and targeted in your clauses and in your statements. So again, this is forcing it to first get a list of assignee as Robert Hean and combining that with a list of any ticket with priority as critical, and then restricting that based on status category. All right, quick coffee break. Quick reminder, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, take a look at the JQ stuff below. So far, 30% of us ask if it matters. Short answer, yes. Longer answer, I didn't know that up until like a week ago. Today I learned. Or I was today years old. Is that the phrase? All right, we've got... back to Jira. So let's go grab our big long statement. And I got to pull up in the chat and find the keywords in it. There are 2 keywords I'm using in here and 1 set of parentheses. So I've got an or keyword, an and keyword, and some parentheses. When I get a complex query like this, the first thing I do is I dig through and I find, are there parentheses? And if there are, I want to understand what happens inside that first. So what's going on in here? So what I'll do is I'll just strip that out entirely. And I'll run just this query. Now this query is probably going to get us a lot of stuff because it'll give me any ticket where the assignee is Rob and combine it with a list of any ticket where the priority is critical. And I can see at the bottom 6,300 work items. Now, many people make the mistake of thinking this will give me only work items where it's both assignee is Rob and the priority is critical. So just to show you what that would look like, I'll flip the operator to and I only get 7. So as you work with other folks on your team or as you explore Jayquill, just keep in mind that the and or operators will, and is more exclusive or is more inclusive. You'll get more things when you use or. And we can see it, shaves off 6,300 work items. So I'll run each individual clause, even if it's a complex statement on its own. Adding parentheses to this really doesn't do anything because parentheses tell it do this part first. So I'll tack on that and status category. And I'll run this. So this is the actual query. It gets 709 work items. This is saying get that whole list of 6,300 things and then further restrict it by the not done things. Okay. If I don't have these parentheses, things are going to get very interesting. I'm kind of curious. I did not run this before the session, but I'm curious how many things we get. 709 things. So this is first running this part. It's first saying, give me anything where the priority is critical and status category is not equal to done. So we'll run just that part. Really? Oh, well, this is silly. I'm not on any of these. Let me quickly fix that. Ha! What I noticed as I was running these, I'm getting the same number. Really? I'm in here. I was getting the same number of work items for both. And I can't tell if we're just lagging out. All right, maybe I'll throw a different name in here. So here I'm getting 706 work items where the priority is critical and the status category is not equal to done. If I add an assignee to the front, I'll use, I guess, Max Taylor, just because I see their name right here and I know they have work items. And I do an OR, this is going to make this list a lot bigger because it'll add to this list of 706 things any other work items Max has. So that added 10 work items. Again, this can be confusing for folks because they might think they are restricting this down to just things that Max has. And this is where those parentheses are important. Putting these in forces Jira to first do this. Just build me this list of Max or critical, and then make it smaller. Only show me things with done. 713, or things not done. Parentheses are confusing. Keywords can be frustrating. So Deanna, you mentioned earlier, can be kind of scary. This would be the topic to engage with. Start to play with the and or operators, and then start to flip the operators and just see what happens. I just made an and or, and suddenly I got 10,000 more results. So making mistakes like this will help you understand just what the logic is doing. And then also working with other people, asking your team to bring you their queries and to get hands-on and just start typing these things out to see what happens. Curious what questions you'll have in the chat, though. I'll get rid of this poll around parenthesis plurality. The ES is plural. Most of you nailed that. I thought it was IS. I just got it mixed up. As you're thinking through questions, I'll just start to bring up another Max. You can put not before a field. I typically don't do this. If I want to do this, I'll typically just use the operator does not equal. And so this is what they call logically equivalent. It gets me the same list of things. So this list, assignee does not equal Max Taylor and not assignee equals Max, has the same result. Now, one thing I haven't spoken yet about is dates. So the created field stores a date. And we'll notice we get some different operators, greater than, less than, equal to. Dates are annoying because you might have to type them in. You'll notice when I went to autocomplete the value of a date, it didn't give me a list of every possible date in the system. It just gave me some functions. We'll talk more about these in our next session, but basically this calculates something and dynamically provides that. So if I run this tomorrow, if I run this next month, it will use March instead of February. So I might say the end of the prior month, -1. This is the same as typing in less than or equal to 1/31/2026. I almost exclusively use these functions when I'm talking about dates just because the function changes a lot and I am really annoyed by the date format and I always get it wrong when I'm trying to do this live. I got it wrong when I'm doing it live. It's expecting year, month, day. I did day, month, year. So I'll quickly fix this. Got it wrong again. So this is why I usually don't bother with them. And that's the mistake I made. So this is an example of my habits, right? And this is why I don't type in dates very much. They do have a use in, it's called like hard coding. If you always want it to be the 31st of January, great, you can do that. However, most of the time you're going to want it to change and be dynamic. You don't want to have to come into this query and resave it every week, every month, every year to update those dates. We'll just use one of these, nice, easy functions, which just dynamically figures out, oh, the end of the day 3 weeks ago. I think, oh, spoiler alert. All right, other specific questions, folks. That's kind of the basics of JQL. Again, we've got this thing called a statement, which we're seeing in the middle chat, and that's the whole thing, the whole valid query. A statement is comprised of one or more clauses. So this is a clause, it's a single complete statement, the smallest possible thing I can cram into JQL, and that when I run it returns something, but I can combine them using those keywords. Priority equals medium. I'll pick on that one. So I can use keywords to restrict the results to change the logic to extend the statement. And then I've got parentheses that help control the flow of logic, that force Jira to evaluate or look at parts of the query before others. Very important when we're using the OR operator. Elliot, how would I do dates for, say, the last 60 days? 2 ways. I don't know how much data I have in here that works, but I could say created is greater than or equals to start of day minus 60. We'll learn more about this next week, and I'll talk about the next session in a moment. But when we're using a function, we can pass it information. So in this case, if I put nothing, it assumes the start of today. But if I say minus 60, Jira will go figure out what was 60 days ago from today and give me that list. Oh, and I've made 42 work items in the past 60 days. You could also take a look at a calendar and figure out whatever 60 days ago was. And I'll just quickly try and make something up. Let's pretend it was December 15th. I don't know. But that would be the same list of things. You could also say start of month minus 2. That's just another way you could do this. Or start of week minus 8. So we have different ways of getting to the same thing, but it would I would highly recommend one of these functions. All right, folks. I mentioned I have a new JQL course. This covers JQL Basic Search Everything. Please go check it out. There's a coupon code beginner to get 10% off. Christopher, what time for start of day? I want to say midnight your time. Rodney, I know we had some discussion around this, though. Elliot, if you need rolling last 30 days, then start of day minus 60 would be your best bet. Because then every day you open it, it's 60 days ago from that day. So whenever you run it, it will grab 60 days in the past. And I'll drop a link to this course in the chat. But 3 hours of content, quizzes, a whole bunch of stuff on helping you improve these skills, and digs much more in depth into these topics, as well as functions, which we get to next week. So your tips and next steps, go get hands-on. This is definitely a skill you will learn by doing, and you will keep in your mind and body as you use it. Doing this session once and not touching JQL for 3 months, you're going to go back to wherever you were before this. So please take time to go practice and test out and try things. So like Elliot, right after this, go try that query. Created greater than or equal to start of day minus 60 and see what happens. And then start to add that to other queries. Go check out Atlassian Community, community.atlassian.com, and just see what other people are doing. Go watch other people's content. Go practice. Again, this is a more mechanical skill, if that makes sense. So understanding the rules is just a function of getting hands-on. On the 26th, I'm pretty sure I got that date right, next Thursday, we'll dig more into functions. So I'll provide more examples of functions, what they do, as well as refresh a bit on our JQL. I do want to thank folks for learning with me. I enjoy this topic. I learned it, I joke, by beating my head into the keyboard. But I'll put one more poll in here, just seeing what you folks thought of the session. Other than that, please feel free to join us in Discord. I'll drop a link in the chat. Or if you want, come find me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to direct you to more information. And be on the lookout on this channel for more stuff around JQL. Also, like I mentioned somewhere in the middle, based on feedback, I'll be recording many of these sessions and providing them without the live commentary. I'll be using the same slides and similar examples, so it won't be identical because these are all done in real time. But I'll provide additional recordings, so start to be on the lookout for those as well. So just more ways for you to learn, expand, and grow. That's my goal. And as you have other ideas on what I can do to make this easier for you or more useful, please tell me that as well. Let me know your ideas so I can try and implement them. Otherwise, folks, I want to thank you for spending an hour of your life learning about JQL with me. Please take a minute to do the YouTube thing, like and subscribe. I think I have to say that it's some kind of YouTube law. But thank you again. Have a great Thursday wherever you are. Stay warm. Don't get buried in the snow. And I'm looking forward to seeing y'all again sometime soon.